Hey everybody, I'm Gio, and I like to write stories about men falling in love with other men. If you like this one, check out the others on my channel. Before we start, let me give a quick thank you. As of putting this story together, I just passed 150 subscribers and 20,000 people have listened to my little stories. Wow, and thank you. You guys are amazing. I never expected this kind of a response. Thank you for giving my channel a chance. I appreciate it. It's time to sit back in your favorite chair and sip your favorite drink. I'm calling this story Secret Revenge. Let's begin. Dad threw my college transcripts on the table. I'd never seen him so angry. Did you think you could hide this? Are you stupid? Look at all the C's and D's, and you failed human biology. They will never accept you into any pre-med program. You've ruined your life and humiliated your family. Dad, you pushed me into studying biology and medical and science, and I keep telling you I don't like it. I don't want to be a doctor, I said, as my stomach shriveled and my knees shook. Grandma walked in, picked up my transcripts, and read them. She didn't exactly scowl, but she set the paper down and walked out of the room. My grandfather picked up my transcripts, read them. His mouth firmed into a narrow line. He pinched the bridge of his nose. I expected a grandson I could be proud of. Instead, I'm ashamed. How could someone be so lazy? Friday night, we were at my grandparents' estate on the outskirts of Vegas, a large estate. It had been in the family for a century. Their house was decorated like an operating room, gleaming stainless steel furniture all in some modern minimalist style, white walls with a single silver mirror hanging above the mantel, and a polished jet black floor that showed every speck of dust. Grandpa fired the last maid for not keeping the floor clean enough. How did you get a hold of my transcripts? Those are confidential, I yelled back. A better question. Why did you think you could keep it secret from us? Mom said. We also learned that you withdrew from all your classes months ago and didn't say anything. That's illegal for them to give you my grades, I said. One of my grandsons is a failure and a dropout. I wanted you to be a doctor and honor the family tradition like I have, and your father has, and your older brother has. I'm not my brother, I yelled. Even your mother has her doctorate. I gave you every chance to make us proud. Instead, you show us how stupid and lazy you are, Grandpa said. I think you should pay me back all the money I wasted on you. Edison can't, Mom sneered. He spent it on his bike. I guess you wasted your money. You have failed and shamed the family, Dad said. I can't begin to describe how disappointed I am. You are worthless. Dad, I don't want to be a doctor. If you decide to go back to college, you'll do it without my money. I'm through wasting it on a failure, Grandpa said, and left the room. I grabbed my things and left too, aching inside. I hopped on my bike and sped away. Once outside of Vegas, I went a little past the speed limit. Well, okay, a lot past the speed limit, as I sped for home. I had trouble sleeping, because the night replayed itself whenever I closed my eyes. That was last night, down in Vegas. Good thing I moved away months ago. It was a dreary April, late Saturday afternoon, and my head screamed, failure, a waste, disappointed, lazy, stupid. I had to get out of my apartment before I went crazy. I walked a couple of blocks to the railroad junction parked and walked along the jogging path that circled it. A good-sized park. It had a small lake in the center, a couple of baseball fields, and a field that could be used for soccer or football. The park was supposed to look natural, but the carefully landscaped rocks and sculpted stone borders and dog poop stations and bright-colored playgrounds and decorative benches made it look man-made. Since it was still drizzling, I was alone with my family still shouting in my brain. Welcome to Dead Man's Butte, Nevada, a small town about an hour's drive away of Vegas. It has several claims to fame. The lead singer for Sterling Locke and his husband lived here. It has a great view of the Mojave Desert, and just a little further north is the butte the town was named after. I reached into my pocket for the small bag I carried. Dad, Mom, and Grandpa's words from last night still rang in my head and stung. A perfect spring day, if you liked gray gloom. Even Nevada gets days like this. That's all I wanted right now, gray gloom, and to be left alone. I needed some peace, because with the fight with my family haunted me. I hadn't eaten anything today, because my stomach was still sour after yesterday. I took a seat on an old iron bench, loosened my jacket a little, and tossed a handful of crumbs for the birds. My family never listened to me. It was always their way. I hadn't had a choice in anything for years. Last night, I didn't have much choice but to let them yell at me. Putting my earbuds in, I played something slow and depressing because I couldn't stand any other kind of music right now. It didn't matter how many breadcrumbs I threw. Even the birds didn't want to be around me. I've come here almost every Saturday since I moved up here, and I love to throw crumbs for the birds and dream about my future. I'm Edison Palmer, 5'10", blonde curly hair that no matter what I do is just one step from being out of control, blue eyes and glasses. My eyes aren't too bad, but I never got used to contacts. Glasses are much easier anyway. I look like the male version of my grandmother when she was 21, and now she's 64. She managed a small organic farm just outside of Vegas, on the way to Moapa. Growing up, she always said we were alike. We both like to work with our hands, her with plants, me with engines. That look on her face as she looked at my transcript, I had failed her too. I came to the park to escape my pounding shame. A few select words played in my head, over and over and over and over and over. Words like failure, a waste, a dropout, a disappointment, shamed. I hurt inside. Finally, a lone pigeon took pity on me and pecked at the breadcrumbs. What would it be like to be a bird and fly into the sky, getting away from the problems of those who can't fly? I tossed a few more handfuls out to it and stared at the lake. As much as I tried, I couldn't pretend to live up to my family's expectations anymore. I didn't have the patience for the endless classes, and if I had finally earned my doctorate, I'd be at least 80 by the time I got out of school. Did Mom or Dad even ask me what I wanted to do? Grandma did. I threw another handful of crumbs to my flock of one lonely bird. I guess his family didn't want him around either. I either did what my dad and my family expected and hated myself, or I did what I wanted and my family disowned me. There was no win in this situation. What I hadn't told Mom or Dad or anyone, the reason I moved to the Butte was the selection of classes at the Butte Community Tech. I could finally study what interested me. I like engines, I like cars, and I love classic motorcycles. Classes start in 2 weeks. I could eventually specialize in motorcycles, and I've already enrolled. They have a great job placement record, too. You look like you have a few storm clouds brewing in your head, a man said, walking up to my bench, putting a foot on it and leaning down to adjust his boot. Well-worn cowboy boots with some kind of elaborate stitch pattern that looked like wings. Bootcut jeans faded in just the right spots. Red plaid shirt and denim jacket. He had that classic silver belt buckle with a bronzed bucking horse in the middle. Whatever cologne he wore, it smelled expensive and crisp and sexy. Smooth-shaven, He filled out his shirt and jeans in all the right places and gave me a half smile that melted my heart. He even sported a black cowboy hat. "It's been a bad couple of days," I said. "I'm Edison Palmer." "Thomas Gibson, but my friends call me Tommy," he said, nodding his hat at me. "I know it's a bit forward, but there's this place in walking distance, Arnold's Broiler and Pub, that serves a pretty good steak and makes a great homemade brew. Arnie is also my uncle. Let's you and me kick back with a beer or two, a couple of steaks, and Arnie's classic fries. Sometimes life looks better when you have a stranger to talk to, and my ears are available." "Why me?" I said. "I'm just a little bit nervous, and I have an hour or so to kill, and you look like you need a friend," Tommy said. "How about it? Dinner and some conversation? What do you say?" "Arnold's? The place about 2 blocks from Java Dive?" I said. "That's the one. Can I call you Eddie? Edison sounds like a history book. No offense," Tommy said. "Eddie," I said. "No one in my family ever called me that, and never would." A new name. Maybe this was the start to my new life. I curled up the bag with the breadcrumbs and put it in my pocket. "Let's both of us call me Eddie. Do you always come out here looking for depressed guys to pick up?" "I'm a sucker for a sob story," he said, giving me that smile again. "Besides, Uncle Arnie will appreciate the business." I had to catch my breath, because one second I was depressed, and the next I was with this whirlwind named Tommy and heading out for beers and steaks. I inwardly smiled and outwardly tried not to stare at his long legs and smooth skin. We walked along the jogging path for a few minutes until we came to the main road. After crossing the street, we went to the second door down the block. That was Arnold's. It started to rain as we got close, so we ran the rest of the way. It didn't look like much out front, only a door with a green sign over it that said, "We serve steaks the way they should be cooked." It had a simple plate glass window that said, "Welcome to Arnold's Broiler and Pub." Tommy opened the door, and it hit a small chime suspended from the ceiling. He held the door for me and tipped his hat at me. "Just so we're clear, I'm buying." Inside, it was like stepping into another world. A polished, dark gray cement floor, buffed and shined. At least a dozen booths stood next to the reddish-brown hardwood walls. A couple dozen tables with chairs cluttered the main floor, and a small stage graced the corner. The stage had a piano, a drum set, a couple of microphones, a couple of guitars, and an electronic keyboard. Every table or booth had a small dark green basket filled with peanuts still in the shell. It had a bar on the side of the room with every kind of ale, beer, and liquid I had heard of, and about 100 I'd never seen before. Just off of the bar was an electric yellow and silver jukebox that played some country song I'd never heard. The place smelled of fried meat, and honey, and beer, and peanuts. This time, I outwardly smiled. I loved this place. The room was cozy, lit with old-fashioned bulbs hanging inside upside-down tin buckets. On the far side of the room, near the stage, was a glass fireplace that immediately made me forget last night's fight. This place radiated warmth, friendliness, and invited you to sit down and spend a minute. I inhaled, deep, and my shoulders relaxed. It felt like I was coming home. "Tommy, you're back early," a balding man said, coming from the back where I assumed the kitchens were. "Hey, Uncle Arnie, I want you to meet a new friend of mine," Tommy said. "This is Eddie. He's had a bad week, and he likes to feed pigeons." Arnie wiped his hands on a towel, and then shook mine in his strong grip. "Good-looking lad like you. You're pretty brave today, my nephew. You watch out for Tommy. He'll break your heart and leave you crying. Tommy has 2 speeds when it comes to love. Devil chasing you fast, and warp drive." "Uncle," Tommy said, "don't scare Eddie off." Arnie laughed. "Sammy wanted me to tell you that the band will be here in an hour for sound check. Von Sitter is late." "Got it, Uncle. That's plenty of time for some dinner," Tommy said. "A couple of ribeyes, a bunch of fries, and a couple of the house special beers. I'm buying." Sometimes I think the reason you come here so much is because I give you a discount. Eddie, how do you want your steak? Arnie asked. A slow smile formed and the tension dropped out of my shoulders. Medium well, I said. Tommy? Well done, Tommy said. If there's any pink, you know I'm sending it back. Tommy clicked a couple of songs on the jukebox and we took a seat in one of the booths. Arnie brought out a couple of beers in iced mugs and set them before us on dark green coasters. The foam on top overflowed a little and the bubbles slowly floated to the top. Tommy took a long drink and wiped the foam from his upper lip. Now tell me, what brand beats this? I sipped and sighed. Your uncle makes a nice beer, and I relaxed in the moment. Maybe it was the atmosphere. Maybe it was the way Tommy listened. Or maybe it was the beer. Or I hurt more than I thought. I told Tommy about the fight, about dropping out of college, and my family's expectation, about how much it hurt. I couldn't stop. My face reddened when I told him that they thought me a failure, and worse. I'm glad I don't live with them. Don't you have any dreams? Tommy said. Ever since I had ridden my first motorcycle, I fell in love with bikes. My dream? Someday, I'd like to find a 1986 Harley-Davidson Softail Heritage Classic and restore it, with polished chrome, all the detailing, and an engine that roared when I rode down the street. Sounds like a nice bike, Tommy said. I think it's the nicest. I want to find a long, stray road in the middle of nowhere and open that baby up and see how fast she can go, I said, and took another sip. Now that sounds fun. Take me with you? Tommy said. If you could wait a couple of years for me to get the money, I'd love the company. We clinked our beers together and drank. Since we drank to it, it's a serious promise. I guess that means we're in a long-term relationship, Tommy said, and saluted me with his beer. Good thing I like talking to you. You're not bad to look at either. Arnie warned me about you, I said, and saluted him back, and then became serious. It might never happen. I can't be me, not around my family. I can't be happy. I can't make my own decisions without somebody saying I've shamed the family. Somewhere in that conversation, Arnie brought out the steaks and the fries and another beer for each of us. It was a good beer, dark, foamy, cold, with a citrus scent and a honey aftertaste. As we finished our steaks, Tommy left his side of the booth and sat next to me. If you could do anything tomorrow, what would it be? He asked. His body was warm, and his lips close. Besides having a new life, I whispered, I want to go to Italy and visit Borgo Panigale. That's the home of Ducati Motors, and they make some of the nicest bikes in the world, and I want to ride one. I'm sorry, all I'm doing is talking about me. You are so easy to talk to. I can't seem to stop. I asked you to, remember? Tommy said, taking my hand. So what's keeping you from going to Italy? My dad, my mom, my grandparents, my family traditions, lack of money, I said. Once classes start, I'll only be part-time at Butte Automotive. Those are only excuses. It's time for Edison to be Eddie. It's your life. So start writing, Tommy said. His eyes were shining and bright. His lips parted in a quick smile, and I leaned in. Would he mind a quick kiss? What did Arnie say about warp speed? Tommy didn't move away. Maybe I'm scared. Maybe I need someone to ride with, I whispered, and our lips almost touched. Why don't we go to Italy and send your family a selfie of us on an Italian bike, Tommy whispered. His lips barely tickled mine. His breath was warm, soft, and he smiled. Maybe it was because I hurt so much inside, and Tommy had been really kind, or maybe it was the beer, or the atmosphere that made me feel at home. Our lips did more than tickle. He held my hand. His lips were strong, firm, as we kissed. We sat and kissed for almost a minute before we broke apart. Tommy whispered, Feel better? I do, I said back. Tommy smiled, still holding my left hand. Was that a Freudian slip, or do you always propose on the first date?" "A what?" I asked. "It's when your subconscious mind surprises your conscious mind when you say something you didn't mean to say," Tommy said. "What did I say?" "What everybody's been saying at weddings for the last 1,000 years, Tommy said. It took me a moment to remember what I said, and then I couldn't stop from grinning. I don't know what it was about Tommy, but he made me smile. "Tommy boy," a woman said from the stage, "leave the romance until later. It's time to get to work." "That's my cousin," Tommy said, with a chuckle, and backing away from me a little. "I'll be there in a minute, Sammy." "You play in the band?" I asked. "I do," Tommy said, chuckling. "Another Freudian slip? Does this mean we're married?" I said, laughing as well. "It's only our first date. We're only engaged." Tommy jerked his thumb to point at the stage. "Stick around, and I'll show you my dream." Tommy left me to nurse my beer, and he walked up to the stage. He picked up an acoustic guitar, strummed a couple of chords, and adjusted the tuning pegs. Somebody played a note on the piano, and he matched it. The band consisted of Tommy on acoustic guitar, Sammy, the lead singer and keyboardist, a man on drums, and another man on electric guitar. An hour ago I was depressed and hurting. Now I'm kissing a guy and smiling. Arnie was definitely right about his nephew. A lot of people wandered in, until every booth and table was full, and a lot of people took extra chairs and sat anywhere they could. I let a couple of college guys share the booth with me. An Italian guy named Francisco and his boyfriend, Eli. The way they looked at each other and kissed, they were obviously in love. Someday, that would be me. It turned out Francisco had actually been to Borgo Panigale when he was a teen, and he told me all about it for the few minutes we waited for the band. At precisely 7, Arnie shut down the jukebox and walked over to the stage. "Guys and gals, it's our favorite local band. Give it up for Leapfrog." It started off with a wild country beat. Sammy sang, and the others joined in from time to time. Tommy played non-stop. Suddenly, the song shifted, and Tommy and the other guitarist stood side by side. First one would play, then the other, then repeat. For the next few minutes, it became dueling guitars. Tommy knew how to move his fingers. When their duel ended and the lead singer came back on stage, Tommy and the other members of the band sang with her, or alternated parts. Song after song, they kept it up for almost 2 hours. Dance songs, slow songs, ballads, all of it country, and I forgot about my problems. Tommy took the microphone, panting a little. "Ladies and gentlemen, you've been a great audience. We have some good news. We've got a demo song online you can download, and our first video should be out on YouTube in a week. Give us a like, but for right now, let's give you a preview. We'll need some help. I'd like you all to meet my fiancé, Eddie. Come on up." Oh my God, what do I do? We weren't really fiancés, just two guys flirting. I guess we were still flirting. "He's a little shy," Sammy said. "Everybody, help us out." Tommy jumped off the stage, pushed his way through the crowd, and pulled me to my feet. "I'm going to get even," I said, laughing. "Your place or mine, boyfriend," Tommy said, and laughed with me. The crowd laughed with both of us. Everybody started clapping, and, a few seconds later, Tommy pulled me on stage. I didn't have time to be embarrassed, because Sammy thrust a tambourine in my hands and yelled, "Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie has the most important job in our band. He's our eye candy." Now, the name of the song is "Kick Those Boots High." I want all of you clapping and stomping and having a good time. 1, 2, 3. The song exploded with the very first beat. Catchy rhythm, nice tune, Leapfrog harmonized well, and I think if there had been room to dance, some people would have. I shook that stupid tambourine and couldn't stop laughing. When it was over, Tommy pulled me in and kissed me. "You're part of the band now." It was about 9, and people started trickling out. The jukebox resumed its duties. Arnie brought everybody on stage another beer, and I can't remember when I had so much fun. "You're not depressed anymore, are you?" Tommy said, and gave me a devilish grin. "I guess I'm not. I'm impressed with you guys," I said. "Tommy, you chose the right boyfriend," Sammy said. "Who wrote that last song?" I asked. "It was a group effort," Tommy said. "Stop being modest," the drummer said. "Tommy took all our ideas and put it together." "Guys, this is Eddie. He feeds pigeons, knows a thing about fixing cars and motorcycles, and believe it or not, we just met," Tommy said. "How do you find boyfriends so fast?" the drummer said. "It's his superpower," Sammy said. "The ability to fall in love with any man after only one kiss. Eddie, since you're one of the band now, and engaged to Tommy, if you want, swing by our place around noon tomorrow. We're having a barbecue before practice." "I don't know the streets, but if Tommy will pick me up, I'll be there," I said. "That sounds like a date," Tommy said, and this time I pulled him into another kiss. "Excuse me, your name's Tommy, right? I didn't mean to overhear your conversation. But did you say your boyfriend knows how to fix cars? Could he look at mine really fast?" A woman in her mid-60s said. Her eyes twinkled and she gave me a half-smile. She wore jeans and a jacket and held her purse in her hand. I had to take a second look, and then I rolled my eyes. All the fun I just had went out the door. My heart sank and my mouth soured. Once again, the depression I'd been fighting all day returned. I must have stiffened because Tommy said, "Eddie, what is it?" "Grandma, are you here to yell at me? Tell me what a failure I am. Didn't Grandpa and my parents yell at me enough yesterday? How did you even know I was here?" I said. "That's a lot of questions. First, I'm not here to yell or preach the virtues of a doctorate. Second, when your grandpa gets on one of his yelling streaks, I go to my farm. And third, we're too much alike. I was worried about you, so I drove to your apartment. Found your bike, but nobody was there. I like going to parks to be alone when life gets to me. So I figured you'd do the same. I found the closest park, and what do you know? I saw you and your fiancé crossing the street, and I followed you in here. Nice place and nicer beer. It looked like you two needed a quiet moment, so I got me something to eat and waited. It's been a while since I've had a chance to enjoy a good concert, and I like leapfrog." "What are you doing here, ma'am?" Tommy said. Grandma reached into her purse and pulled out my grade transcript and gave it to me. "Somehow, you grew up and we lost touch. It's probably my fault, and I'm sorry. I think it's time we reconnected. I want to get to know my grandson and his boyfriend." Both Tommy and I shared a secret smile. "Do you know how refreshing it will be to have a conversation where any word related to medical is not said every other word?" Grandma said. "Eddie, you didn't do very well with college, did you?" Sammy said, looking through my transcripts. "Now you know why his family hates him. Everybody's a doctor but him, and he doesn't want to be," Tommy said, and took my hand. "They made it pretty clear, if I don't become a doctor, they don't love me," I said. "Forget about them. Come join our weird little family," Arnie said. "Sammy knows how to put a bandage on something, but that's all we know about medicine." "No wonder you never said anything about a boyfriend or getting married," Grandma said. "Congratulations. What if I bought you, your fiancé, and your friends a beer, and we got to know each other?" "I can't turn down a free beer," Tommy said, taking my hand. "What will you tell Grandpa and Mom and Dad?" I asked. Grandma gave Tommy a little kiss on the cheek, and then gave me one. Once again, her eyes twinkled. "Nothing. It will be our secret revenge. Have you set a date yet?" Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you would rather have a cup of coffee and visit the Java Dive, check out my story, Caramel Macchiato. The link is below or at the end of the video. Once again, thank you for stopping by my little channel. Peace.